Be Chris Blows last year when he was crushing it as a privateer. They'll rebuild your motor, modify your motor, they'll rebuild your suspension, modify it, get your bike set up for your weight and or speed. Racetech.com. The best part is you use the code PULP20 to save with the folks at Racetech, and they've been part of our show for a long time, and they're continuing to be, and we appreciate it. Let's get their marketing guru on the show, Chris Riesenberg. What's up, Chris? How are you, man?
I'm pretty good, just staring out the window dreaming about dirt bikes.
I know, right? Is it Riesenberg or Riesenberg? I never know.
Riesenberg.
Okay, so I got it right. Hey, so interesting. Paul Parabino's from Renthal's here, of course, and we got Jeremy Schism coming up later. Real interested to talk to people in the industry a little bit, Chris, about how things are going, and we're in unprecedented times, of course. You don't work out of the Corona, California office, but you're there quite a bit for the folks at Racetech, and you've really helped them grow their program over the years. How's things at Racetech? Like, what's it like right now in the shop and people you talk to and Paul and everybody else?
We're cautiously optimistic. I mean, obviously our business has changed a lot over the past few weeks as everything's developed, and I mean the world's changed and adapted as well, but things are still good, and there's obviously the fear of they might not be good at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think the economy is going to take a hit at some point, but for how long and how much? And I mean, we've lived through a recession before as a business, and you know, the vintage side really is the one that helped us through a lot of that. And you know, again, the bike rebuilds and stuff like that, and business as a whole is actually been positive. We had a very good March. I can say it's equivalent to where we were at a year ago. It's different business, but it's definitely consistent. One of the main things that we've seen is guys are using their motorcycles as an outlet and a way to put a smile on their face to, you know, have some positivity and spending time in their garages, which is, you know, our business is built around that. And I am excited to see that. I hope that, you know, eventually all of us can get out to a motorcycle track together and enjoy our motorcycles. But business-wise, it's been really strong, and I've been hearing that throughout the industry quite a bit, is things are still going. Yeah.
Well, Paul, that's what you were saying. Like March was good for Renthal, right?
March was very good, yeah.
And maybe that hit comes, but for now.
For now, it's okay. I'm interested to see what April looks like, right? And you know, now we see more and more tracks closing. I believe Southern California now doesn't have a single track that you can go to. As of today.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm speaking to the region I live in, but yeah, I'm interested to see. So, but yeah, I love hearing from Chris that his business is good still too, because that's the biggest thing I want out of all of this is everybody to get through. Yeah.
And Chris, I think you're 100% right. Like, okay, I got this downtime. You know what? I got this vintage bike in the garage, or I got my old bike. Let me go through it. Let me get Racetech to go through it. Let me change the suspension, like that kind of stuff, right? We got more time on our hands for projects. And when projects are involved, that's the aftermarket stuff right there.
For sure. It's project bikes, and then even your racer guys, they're sitting right now without being able to race because of track closures. Pretty much across the country, most of the public tracks now are closed. So they're getting ready for when they can go racing and can go riding. And really things are busier now than they were because we had to adapt our business so much. You know, the number one concern with Paul was to make sure our staff was safe and that side of things. And having a bunch of guys in a building together is not the way that we could do business. So, I mean, we've always had a very clean shop, and, you know, our engine room's even carpeted for that matter. I mean, we're working with technical components, and we pride ourselves on doing very precise work and stuff, but it's cleaner than it's ever been. And, you know, we're sterilizing stuff as it comes in and out. Right. Most of our guys are working from home at this point. We have our test vans that are set up, and most of our techs are as comfortable in those as they are their own benches, so they're literally working out of their driveways at their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if they need to go in once a week to, you know, take suspension that's completed and pick up new jobs, they can do that, or if they need parts and stuff. But we have limited people in the building, and, you know, those guys are all in masks and glasses and gloves and such. But it's changed a lot because of having to adapt to that in a short amount of time. But other than that, the business is kind of flowing as expected. International shipping's been a little difficult, but the uptick in the U.S. market of, again, those project bikes and guys working on their bikes right now has kind of made up for that. So that's been really cool.
Well, it's good to hear, for sure. I mean, like as you said, Paul, we're early. We're 3 weeks in, a month into this thing, but it's good to hear that part of things are going well for Racetech for sure. And Chris, for you, where you are, you're in Iowa. How are the track situations? Are they open, public tracks, or are they closed, or how's it going there?
So I'm actually in Minnesota, but I connected pretty close to the Iowa people, and I grew up there and whatnot. For the most part, all of our tracks here are closed.
Yep.
I know a track was open last weekend, got shut down on Saturday, and they were able to actually come to an agreement to be able to open up on Sunday with some different restrictions and stuff. They worked it out. I think it was with the county sheriff or something along those lines that they were able to open. But as of right now, it's also just thawing out here. So most of the tracks haven't been open. All of our race dates have been canceled through for a month or so yet before they can start. I think it's middle of May before they have an even opportunity to open. But for the most part, we haven't really seen it because it's just thawing out here. There's some private stuff open and there's small groups riding and whatnot. But I don't know the full effect in this area yet just because everything's, we're actually having an early spring here. Usually last year we were under snow at this point. So.
Oh, yeah. That's me being removed. I mean, I'm from Manitoba, but that's me being removed. I was thinking April you'd be back riding already, but I guess not. Maybe I forget about those days. Maybe I've been out of the snow for so long,
For sure. I talked to Levi Kilbarger today. He's my race tech center over in Ohio, the old privateer racer guy that's been helping Barsha and stuff. But he does race tech stuff in Ohio, and he said all of his tracks were closed because he does a lot of riding schools and training. And I was asking, and he said it's shut down so much there that he doesn't even want to deal with the legal hassle of trying to run riding schools and stuff like that. That tells me that's pretty much probably across the country that tracks are closed. But at the same point, talking to him about his business, he said it's still moving as well. And, I have my race tech centers all throughout the country, and they're not seeing the hit yet, which is great. That's great news for all of us. Hopefully that lasts, and we'll start to see the end of this thing before it gets to where we're having a huge downturn.
Pulp20 is the code to save at racetech.com. We got the Racetech rant coming up at some point. I didn't really think about it. What am I angry about? Nothing really right now, but we'll figure something out.
You seem to be in a good mood.
And so if you talk about business being well, Chris, you added the motor department a couple of years ago, and that started humming along really well. The vintage stuff you focused on a little bit more. You told me a year or so ago. What's been a part of Racetech that has caught on maybe bigger than you thought or as you thought or whatever? Is there an end of things at Racetech that you maybe the listener or myself or Paul would be surprised that you guys are crushing it at?
I think the rise of how quickly the engine department grew, it actually surprised us quite a bit. You don't necessarily, obviously we have our race teams and stuff that we're working with and you hear about a little bit, but we have some pretty well-known companies that are out there that are using us for their services. And we're even at this point, a lot of them, we're doing all their porting and development and everything in-house. And that program grew really, really fast and is doing phenomenal. I'm super happy with that to where we've had to add staff in that department just to keep up with the work. It was so busy and whatnot. And that's been really cool because we expected that to be a long grow. That's a very competitive market. And in order to do it right, you have to, it takes a lot of time and effort to not just build an engine, but build an engine that will last and also make power. You can put a lot of parts in anything, but to actually use the right parts and such, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and it takes the right people and the right tools to do it. It's a big investment. So that's paying off sooner than we expected. So that's really cool. And now that one's probably changed more than the suspension side. We're seeing more of the rebuild stuff on the engine side right now with the change in business the past few weeks versus the suspension side. Suspension side's kind of business as usual, pretty standard. The engine side switched a lot from the performance type engine builds to a lot more of the rebuild stuff. So what we're seeing at this point.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Got a question for Chris from Racetech, 702-586-PULP. Give us a call and bring up your suspension, your motor question to Chris, and he can try to dial you in. Folks at racetech.com. Hey, so Chris, you're back riding a little bit now. You've got the bug again. You're like me a couple years ago.
Yeah, thanks to our buddy Kiefer.
Oh God, dude! Hey, and how fucking irritating is he? Like he just doesn't stop. He just picks, and you're just like, stop it.
Yeah, he's nonstop, and now he's so pumped that I'm riding, and I'm absolutely back in love with riding motorcycles. It's fun. I ran out of talent, and I'm up to about half a lap of stamina now. When I first started, it was maybe a straightaway, but we're getting there. It's really fun, and I picked up a Honda 450, and the thing's crazy fast, honestly, almost too fast. So I'm getting used to it and riding it. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and it's a source of release right now for me, and whatnot. And it's nice to be back involved in the sport on that side of things.
Yeah, yeah. Do you get a bit frustrated though because you kind of know what to do, but your body and mind aren't responding like they used to?
Not quite yet. I know what you're talking about
right.
for sure.
Right.
But I've been so mellow and I was off for so long that I'm actually enjoying the fact that I used to go to the track and take a tenth off a lap time and I was pumped.
Yep.
Or kind of pumped and it was a lot of work. Now I can go to the track and take 10 seconds off a lap time and it was really easy and it's just fun to ride and I never really had to push the edge too much to do that. I'm trying hard not to get into the racing thing so much.
Right.
Because I'm not really looking to ride the edge that much and
yeah.
Maybe that'll come back, but right now I'm just having fun riding with my buddies and it's the joy of the sport is definitely back.
Right.
Hey, Chris, I got a question for you. So like just one industry professional to another, I'm always interested in hearing what works for some people's businesses and brands and others. And obviously I'm a handlebar grip guy. I always like hearing about the tire business. And now, with you being an expert in suspension and motors, my perception is to be successful there is you have to have really good customer service and you have to build a great reputation for yourself. But I guess tell me, like, from a marketing perspective, what does the most for your kind of company, your business? Like, which form of marketing is it? Is it athlete support or web banners or podcasts or print ads? Like, I guess what works for you guys?
Our marketing and our business, and really the first thing Paul told me when I started was people like to do business with people they like, and everything we do is based around word of mouth. So even with the podcast stuff we do, or Kiefer's been really great for us, as Steve has as well, is making sure they experience the product so they can sell from their experience. And that's really what's been successful. So we're a lot of boots on the ground. And when we look at rider support, it's not so much branding because the Race Tech brand's been around for a long time. And people aren't going to go buy a performance product like ours, in my opinion, based on just the brand name. It's not because it looks cool. They want to get something that works. So we've attacked more the privateer side of things and get as many people on the product as we can that believe in the product so that they can share their experience and sell it that way. So each person that rides the product, every customer, even, a lot of my vet guys, I'll put them on a support program because they sell a lot of product. If I keep hearing their name over and over again, we'll take care of those guys. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the fastest guy or the best results. So those guys obviously have a big platform to speak from. If they understand that their job as a sponsored rider is to get the word out about it, that's the guys that we want to work with and we want to help. And you'll see that with the race teams and riders we work with. They come to us because they believe in us and they believe in the product.
Yeah. I agree with you. That's something I find too. Like it's very valuable to have educated, professional people speak intelligently about your product or your business or what have you, because these are all the people that are basically little ambassadors all over the country, right, that are at the track weekly. And if you can, sometimes it is better than the guy that's just waxing everybody in the A class, but he won't talk to anybody or doesn't know what the hell's on his motorcycle, right? So
yeah. I think that's probably a good point, right? That's real world stuff.
Yeah. I think there's all kinds of different levels of people in this industry, and if there's somebody that is giving an opinion and it's an opinion that can be trusted, that's a way to spread a positive message for sure.
Chris, I watched your video on Instagram the other day. So you were inspired by the Western Raceway Challenge, poor Kiefer?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. By the way, yours and A-Ray's bonus checks for that are on the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Went out with my girlfriend's little sister and one of my really good friends who's also my mechanic. We call him Big Al, and did a little lap time challenge similar to yours. And I came out victorious, which was awesome. Spraying champagne still from it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. We had a good time doing ours. Kiefer's really taken some losses lately. Like when you look at the national qualifying,
it affects him.
The world vets.
It affects him.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like he shreds on a dirt bike, but just maybe the competition.
That might be it for him. Maybe, yeah. Like he's great in his element.
Yeah.
During the week at his tracks, practicing, but maybe
put him in the high des with a dishwasher and this and that. He's great, but yeah.
Racing situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he gets a little bit nervous. Maybe.
Right. Well, A-Ray was really sending it though.
Yeah, he's hot and loud. A lot of noise coming out of A-Ray.
Yeah. No, he was out there. So, thanks again to 239s for that. So it was fun to do though, Chris.
there was definitely some bottoming resistance in the suspension.
Yeah.
He just landed flat on everything. Maybe Kiefer can get some redemption. I'm trying to drag him out here at the end of summer.
Are you really? What do you got going on?
I'm working on an event at Oakridge MX in Iowa. It's basically motocross heaven, and I know you wouldn't think there's hills in Iowa because
I would
it's the
not.
Great Plains and all, but it is absolutely gorgeous. If you go on our Instagram at Oakridge MX, the place is phenomenal. It's like photo shoot material, kind of old school Castilla Ranch look to it with just the grassy hills and stuff. And we're basically putting on it's a motocross festival, kind of to celebrate a love for racing. And I mean, there'll be stuff like vintage racing and stuff going along with the actual motocross event there. At the end of August, hopefully we're racing dirt bikes by that point, and we're planning accordingly. And I've teamed up with a couple of guys that have run events there in the past, and the track owner's just really passionate about the sport. He's put a lot of time and effort into the facility. It's been open, I think, 6 years now, and the place is gorgeous, and it's just a lot of fun to ride. I actually rode. That was one of my first times back riding last year, was for a race that he put on.
Oh, okay.
The weather was cold and miserable, but man, it was so fun. The track is just rolling hills and floaty jumps and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that.
Paul just pulled it up on his phone. It does look pretty good. Oakridge MX.
Looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Yeah. I'll show up, but I want Duff to work on my bike. I want Duff to be my mechanic. Can we make that happen?
I would love to drag him out. That's really local for him, too.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. So you're trying to get Kiefer to come out for this race?
Yeah, we're working on getting Kiefer to go out. I just send him pictures of the track every now and again and the nice loamy soil that he doesn't get up there in the high desert.
Right.
So I think I don't want just Chris. I want his whole family to come out. I want Aiden to race and everything. So we're working on that. I think we're going to make it happen.
Okay. All right. Got a question for you on one. Zach, what's your question for Chris from Race Tech?
Hey, Steve, thanks for taking my call. As you know, your boy Kellen is pretty big in the MX sim community.
Kellen, this is Kellen's time. A pandemic is Kellen Brower's time to shine. Absolutely.
Definitely. But I would say the second biggest face in the community is Chris. I know him as Checkers. I just wanted to ask him if he thinks, with everyone being stuck at home, if he thinks there could be a rise in the community, or if we see some actual real-life pros get into MX Simulator.
The MX Simulator things, I mean, there's a lot of pros that play it and don't tell a lot of guys about it. But it takes so much time and effort. And the fact is, like, most of the guys that I know, they're still riding and training, or at least training a lot. And it takes so much dedication. I think it'll be really hard for the game to go huge. Now, I do think the more casual arcade-style games definitely will see an uptick right now. And people just getting into them because they're stuck at home playing video games, and that's their outlet to ride motorcycles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that with Kellen here, and I was saying, hey, run a whole simulator series, Kellen, like run the whole thing. And it sounds like he's being lazy, but anyways, I said design each rider, pros, cons, make Tomac and Roxon slightly better than Cooper Webb, and Cooper Webb slightly better than Jason Anderson, like as close as you can, and run a sim series, and let's see how this thing would finish out. And he says you can't do that. I don't know. I think he's just being lazy. Checkers, myself, Kellen, just figure it out, but I mean, that's just me. I
mean, we can say that, but I did work in the video game industry for a while, and I know absolutely how hard it is. Our sport, there's so much that goes on between bike and rider, physics-wise. Yep. It's so much gnarlier than like a car racing game because we add that vertical element to it, plus moving dirt and that side of things. It's something that definitely hasn't been accomplished yet.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for the call, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's another member of Kellen Army calling in. Can't stop them. They're everywhere. Nash, what's going on? How are you?
Gentlemen.
How are you, Nash?
I'm great. All is well. I'm doing what I got to do, as we all are doing. I got two really good questions.
Okay.
Parabinos. Gents, glad you're on board. Thank you for taking away the ridiculousness of what we're all going through. So my first question to Chris is, I love the sport for 30 years, rider, and now I'm enjoying it with my daughter. My daughter's good at setup, and I'm good at setting a bike up. But what do you watch as a professional when you're watching the motorcycle work? Like, I'm always fascinated when I hear a factory guy watching the bike set up in a supercross or at an outdoor, and it seems like the riders just said, Steve, you've interviewed riders that come back, and the mechanic or the suspension guy's like, we already know what we're going to do before we do it. So just some basic tips on what you're watching the machine do, from the most elementary to the more complex, please.
Well, first of all, I got to preface this by saying I'm the marketing guy and not a tech guy, so I don't touch wrenches. However, I'm around it a lot, and I see that a lot. And one of the things I know that we watch more than anything is, instead of watching the tire and the wheel as much, is watch the back fender, because that'll show you how much the bike's actually moving under the rider. Now you can watch the back tire to see how much it's tracking along the ground and how long it's staying in the air. That part's definitely important. So that's something a lot of people miss, is they see the wheel being busy and think it's wrong. Well, that's actually the bike doing its job, typically. And then the other thing is, on the race team side and development side, we're definitely spoiled with a lot better tools now. And, the data acquisition and stuff like that helps a ton, to where it'll tell you at what velocity it's moving, how far down into the stroke it is, and whatnot. And you can compare that with rider feedback. And a lot of times you'll see guys, a common example that I have watched a lot is guys will come off the track and say, man, this stuff's way too soft. The other stuff was better. It was way stiffer, and it was actually the opposite, because they were riding the shock bumper through the loops, and it felt stiff because there was no give. Whereas once we put enough to hold it up, the rider thought it felt softer because it was giving, but actually they needed to go even further that direction, stiffer versus softer. But you can always watch, too, on like the forks of the bike, of how far down in the stroke they are. And again, you might think that it feels like your bike's too stiff, when really it's too soft, so you're getting to the stiffer part of the stroke that's further down. And then definitely there's a lot of really good information on the Racetech website under instructions, as far as like installing the front wheel on the motorcycle and putting your forks on. Is probably the most common thing I see screwed up, is forks not being parallel, not torqued properly.
This is Chris.
Stuff like that.
Chris, this was what I was helping Marty with in Geneva. When Marty had 5 millimeters of axle sticking out of his fork.
Oh, geez. Was Johnson working on it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the problem.
Brian Johnson. I'm like, Marty, what are you doing? And then I fixed it, and then he crashed the next night while he was leading, and Brian Johnson, his mechanic, was like, should have left the axle alone.
Yeah, because the axle's probably been wrong in MTF for years now.
Right.
Oh, my God. Yeah, or Chris or Parabinos and Steve, are you guys a big fan of the Motion Pro alignment tool?
No, I just do the way I've been taught forever.
Yeah, I don't use it either.
Yeah.
You just measure to the top of your forks, and then, put your wheel on, snug your axle, and then always pull your forks down a little bit to get the axle to align, then tighten your pinch bolts, and you're good.
Understood.
Paul knows what he's doing.
Love it. Parabinos, very quick. A lot of guys got downtime. As a former Loretta's champion and a person that grounded out hard with Weimer's advice, any real? I mean, I know what you did was probably complex. I mean, you really went for it when you did go for it. Any advice for people, like standard hour, any exercise or anything you want to give for people sitting around?
I mean, I guess it really just depends on your work schedule, your age, so many different things. I mean, my advice, just with anything I do, like if you're going to do it right. Otherwise, and especially when it comes to Loretta's, if you're going to spend the money to go, prepare yourself at least so you can have a decent time, because if you're not prepared, you're going to hate life at that place if you're not prepared.
Really?
I at least that's my take. I don't have I would rather not do something than do it half-ass. That's me.
Okay. Hey.
All right, Nash. Thanks, man. Thanks for the call.
Hey, guys, go get him. See you.
All right, thanks, Nash. Appreciate it. So we got a guy asking Paul about training. We got a guy asking Checkers about bike setup. Another guy asking Paul about, like, what the fuck? Like, I did all this too. I'm training. I was a mechanic. I raced. Like, fuck everybody. Like, let's just ask everybody but me. All I get questions about hot tubs. That's it. That's the only questions anybody's got for me about my hot tub. It's fucking bullshit. Hey, Chris, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it. Glad to hear everything's going well at Racetech so far. That's awesome. You've been a big supporter of our programs for a number of years. This one, the Privateer Island Show, the Racer X Show. I appreciate all of that support. We're going to continue to pump out content for people. And Pulp 20 code. Just mention Pulp when you call into Racetech. Email Racetech. They'll dial you in. Thanks very much, Chris. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, man. Talk soon. That's Chris Riesenberg from Racetech. Glad you're doing well.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic.